Hi friend, David here from Learn Christmas Lighting, and today this is going to be really fun. Okay, so what I want to do is this series that I'm calling Show in a Box, and basically, not that a show actually comes in a box, sometimes they do, but what I want to do is basically have a rig, have some lights, some Christmas light stuff, set it up here in the office or on my house, and literally show you the basic, like, hey, here are the things I'm doing, specifically focusing on the programming, the software side. And here's how I'm making a light show out of these basic pieces. Because I think that when you're new, that can really help you to go, okay, here's what I would need to do in order to actually do this thing in my show, right? A lot of times, especially if you're new to this hobby, it can seem overwhelming. And just taking some basic elements and putting together a show and doing it all in one stretch, I think could really help people. And I know it's something folks have been requesting. So today, I want to work with this stuff. This is the Mattos Designs RGB Trim. I showed how to install it and review it here. We'll link to that video. And what I like about the RGB Trim is, sure, you can go just about anywhere these days and get these kind of puck lights in a trim. But the RGB Trim is a little different because they use a miniature size plug. That means that their track is really thin, really well built, really high quality, and it's not excessively more than everybody else's. It's not, it's not the cheapest out there. The Mattos Designs product is never going to be, but they design it and they build it to last a lifetime. And so, and plus the pixels are also UL listed, which is cool. Of course, you're hooking them up to a non-UL controller. We won't talk about the ramifications of that here, but I think it goes to show that they're working hard to build something that's going to be safe as well. I've got a bunch of it on my house, as noted in that video. And so what I want to do here basically is in this video, show you how to build a seasonal, like year-round, if you were to install this RGB trim on your house, such as I have, how to go and build, some year-round stuff, some stuff that you can light up, maybe not all the time, maybe all the time, maybe not all the time, but you could go and use it, for holidays, when your favorite sports team wins, stuff like that. And then we're going to go plug it in on the house and show you what it looks like. So, let's dive in. Okay. So once I itch my foot, we can get back in. So today we're going to go, first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the xLights side. I'm going to start that first. So I opened up xLights and I'm going to change permanently. So when you first open xLights, if you are brand new to this, you will be asked to create a show folder, which often is just in your documents folder. You can create a folder called xLights. I'm going to call this xLights and then underscore YouTube Mattos RGB Trim. Cool. Doesn't matter what you call it as long as you know where to find it later if you do switch to a different show. Select folders. I'm not saving anything from the previous show. And then what I'm going to do is I have actually plugged in my Curt controller here. So if you guys aren't familiar, I reviewed this here last year. Oh, here's our schedule of videos. So if you go to curtcontrollers.com, he's a Canadian guy that builds controllers for haunted houses and stuff like that. And last year, or 2 years ago? No, last year he put out controllers that are BeagleBone FPP based. And I reviewed them, and I think they're great, and I used it to run my Megatree, this one right here, the PV Pixel, and it's been rock solid. I wanted to use my Mattos Dragon because I like that controller a lot, but there's still no show player built in, and check my email quick and make sure I don't have any news on that. Nope, no news is no news. I know they've promised a show player for the Experience Lights controllers, which the Mattos Dragon is one this year. It's not out yet, so I wanted to use the Curt controller, use a Curt or a Culp or another FPP based controller, because then I could just go out there, hook it up wirelessly, sit in my yard, have it plugged into the lights, and make it easy. Just have the show run off of that controller, not have to add anything else. Okay, so that's why I did that. So now let's go ahead and walk through, nope, not here, go back to xLights and do our initial setup. So the first thing I'm going to do is add my controller, because I have gone ahead before this video and I've got the controller, I've assembled it, I've knocked things over. In this waterproof box, it is plugged in right now with all the pigtail wires coming out, all that jazz. Again, I used this controller in my show previously, and so that means it's already on my network. It's already connected wirelessly. If you need these steps, just follow my guide to installing FPP. I did one last year on whatever the latest version was at that time, and it'll be mostly unchanged from that. But you get it on your network, and then you can hit Discover right here. And it finds my controller. Now, it found another controller because I'm a lighting guy and I have all kinds of stuff around, so I'm going to delete that one. But here it found my Kurt controller, and so it knows exactly what it is and configures all of that. That's what I love about using a controller that is in the xLights library, is that it's going to show up and, you know, you can have all these automatics checked, and then it just makes life easier. So now that we've done our controller, again, some people don't do it first. I usually do. We go to layout. So I'm going to flip my layout into the standard 2D mode. And then I'm going to grab a picture of my house, I think. Let's see. You want to copy it into, you want to copy your house picture into your xLights folder. Because this is just temporary. I'm just going to go in here real quick. Nope, that's not it. I'm just going to go in here real quick and find it, maybe. Maybe not. I have literally no idea where I put it. Oh, there I did. So you would want to put it in your actual xLights directory. Getting it out of a different directory is a bad idea. That tree no longer exists. As you can see, it looks quite dead there, but this is obviously a Google Street View photo. And I'm going to take the brightness on this image and pop it like way down. 20, 30%, something like that. Now it's time to add my lights. So there's a couple ways I could add it. Like, honestly, for my show last year, I just created a single line like this and just stretched it out. It's not going to be super precise as to all the spacing, but it does work. Today, I'm going to make it just a little more complicated, so I'm going to delete that one. And I'm going to create multiple single lines because I noticed, I just went out there and checked all my counts. And I basically have 2 pieces of RGB trim here. So that's 20 pixels. And then I have 70 pixels that goes to about here on this window. And then I have the rest of my pixels out here. And that is 50. So by default, when you do create a new model, it has 50 nodes, okay, per string. So that's good. Single line 3, so we're going to call this RGB trim 3. Then we'll call this RGB trim 2, RGB trim 1. Now, a couple things you're going to notice here, you're going to want to notice is 1, go into each of these models. So this one is only 20, but this middle one, middle one, if I can select it here. You can also deselect basically the create, and then I can, deselect the create, and then you can click around here and not be creating new things. So 20, then my middle one is 70 pixels. All 3 of these we want to change here. So the way that we usually set these guys up is, if I remember correct, we just set them here in xLights to right-click bulk edit. And then pixel style, no. Or will it not let me bulk edit this one? We're going to find out. Protocol. Maybe it's not going to let me bulk edit. But it is the string properties. They are not RGB, they are RGBW, these particular ones. So I want to go find RGB dub. So that was the first one, second one. And if you had thought ahead better than me, you could create the first one, set it up as RGBW, and then you would be good to go. When you copied it, it would all copy over correct. I didn't do that, so it took a little bit more time, but not excruciatingly so. And so then I've got them all. I've got them laid out. I want them to all. I'll zoom in, basically, have them try to find the snapping line. I'll hold shift to get the snap line to make them nice and horizontal. Pro tip when working with xLights and effects here, it is best to, if things are like a straight line on your house, set them up straight in xLights. Even if your photo's not quite straight, make the actual model in xLights straight, because ultimately xLights works on a big, huge grid. And if you take it off of straight just a little bit, you just make it a little bit crooked to match what your photo's doing, and then you run an effect like side to side or up and down across that element, it'll like step down. It'll look funky because ultimately there's, it's sitting on a grid in xLights and it's crooked. Whereas if it's just a straight horizontal or vertical line in real life, it shouldn't be crooked at all, right? So that's just a pro tip there. Makes things look better, especially on matrices and stuff. So I've got those all lined up. I just want to line that up just a little bit better so that all three of them are like in the same plane. I'm going to save. And so the next thing I'm going to do is you can fill out the controller connection here. What I like to do instead is just go here to the Visualize tab and drag them on in. So we've got 1, followed by 2, followed by 3. They're all on one port here in xLights. Good to go. Hit save. Hit upload output. It's mad at me because I'm running an old version of FPP. It'll be fine. I got this upload output complete. So now I'm good to go there. Back to the layout tab. I have this separated into my 3 models based upon the 3 sections of the house. However, I want to go in and create a couple submodels real quick. Okay, so my kids' rooms are over on this side of the house, and what I want to do is just for Christmas, we just black out their windows, we go crazy, right? But for other holidays, for just, regular around the year stuff, I'm gonna just turn off the lights that are in front of their window. Okay, so how would we do that? Well, the way I'm gonna do it here today is I'm going to go find the trim. So this model here has son number 1's room. And I'm going to go ahead and create a submodel. Okay. So I scroll down right here to submodels, ... And then, ooh, that doesn't look great in dark mode. And so then I'm going to add a new submodel and call it J room. And then we need to set out our node ranges. So I wrote down that room number 1 is pixel 61 through 70. Now that's in total, but I've split this up. So there's 20 first, and then the second string is 70 pixels. Oh, that means I did that wrong. No, I did that good. So what I did is I actually did count that correctly. So the nodes are 61 through 70 on this string, and that is the submodel J room. And we'll see here, right now it's showing it on the right side. And so I will take note here, and it says we start at the green square, is the starting location. So the data is traveling the correct way, but the submodel might be flipped backwards, interestingly enough. It shouldn't be. I'm going to go ahead and roll with it. I think this might just be backwards, but if it's not, I will flip it later. So now we'll go ahead and we're just going to leave that as B. Child number 3 is this room, or child number 3. Child number 2, E, we will go ahead and Add a submodel. And this guy's nodes are, well, I wrote down that it's 88 through 102. But on the third string, if the third string starts at, I wrote that way wrong. I was not counting good. So basically, oh goodness, hold on just 1 second. Let me do some math. So that would translate to 18 through 32. Ding. Awesome. Press OK. Hit save. And now we are ready to go ahead and sequence our lights. Actually, the last thing I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to create 2 groups. So I'm going to highlight all of these, and I'm going to create group from selections. Call it RGB Trim, so I have all of them in a group. And then I'm going to hit this little arrow, select these 2 submodels, create group from selections, and we'll call this off. Save. Go to my sequencer. Awesome. Now we're going to go press new sequence. In this case, I'm just doing an animation today. 20 frames per second because that's how I roll. Quick start. And good. So my groups are in the right order where RGB trim is above off. This is going to be critical and you'll see why in a second. And I'm just going to build a simple, quick, just really test animation. I don't know, what is it? It's March, April's next. Let's do Easter. Okay, so Easter, a lot of people do purple. So I'm going to take this and make it kind of purpley. And I'm just going to do a really simple, maybe between purple and blue. Just do something with a little bit of movement in it. So what do I want to do? Just do a plasma here. Just real simple. No, plasma's not going to loop well. That's always, the looping is the part that always is where xLights is not really made for, you know, stuff like this, where, so we're just going to do an on effect where, you know, you're, where it's looping constantly. Some of the effects definitely can work on a loop, others not so much. So I'm just going to do it, set it purple, and then I'm going to use the off effect on the off group. And then what that's going to do, as you should be able to see here, is that one blacked out, I hope you can see it on the preview, around the window area. And it did do it correctly. It looks like it's coming into this window here on this side, but again, unless I did my math terribly wrong, it's not. It should be good to go. And so now we'll go ahead and hit save, Control S on a PC, Apple S on a Mac, or file save, and we'll call it Easter. Awesome. So now I want to go and create just a couple more sequences. So let's say I want to do a bar segment and red, white, and blue. Cycles, let's do 4. It is up by default. We want it to go down, not down, left. Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah. I like the 3D, or the gradient is what I like best. Awesome. And so yeah, nice little red, white, and blue. Now, when I am working with something that's looping, I want to make sure that I set the effect, I set the start and end point really good. Even zooming in, and you'll see, as I move around, I'm going to scroll to the end of this here. Whoa, where is it? Why is it hiding? I don't know. That's a new one. As to why I can't quite get to the end of it. If I zoom out a little. That's weird. Always something new. Maybe it's fixed in the current version, but as I record this, the current version has some other issues. So I want this to be 30 exactly. And you see here as I drag it, down here at the bottom of the screen, it displayed the amount of time, the duration of the effect. And because I have a 30-second sequence, I drag that to exactly 30 seconds. Okay, then with a solid quantity of cycles on the bars effect, what we should see then is that, I'm going to make it, no, I think I like it nice and slow like this. With a solid quantity of cycles on the bars effect, it should loop smoothly through my lights. So now I'm going to go File, Save As, and call it Patriotic. And then maybe I'll go ahead and do a color wash. And do it in green and purple for Halloween. Is that going to look good at all? Maybe it'll look okay. Whatever. File, Save As. And you can always save as before you start making changes if you're a compulsive Control S kind of person who constantly saves. That can be helpful. So you can go create more of these. These are 3 basic ones. Effects that do loop well are things like spirals, single strand, basically anything where it's not like super organic, but you're defining a defined number of cycles or iterations basically that it goes through, where it finishes and then it restarts. When you have that and you can set a solid number in there, typically those things will loop well, other things will not. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and go to Tools, FPP Connect. I'm going to checkbox these 3. My FPP device here is showing right up. That's my controller. Okay, and then I don't need to. In this case, I don't have any media. That would be music. I don't need to worry about models or UDP out. In this case, I just need to make sure this PB16, which is just the controller's name in xLights, is selected, which it is by default, and I can hit upload. We see success, and now let's go ahead and set this up. So I'm going to go over to my controller tab. It knows the IP address and it shows it green, so I can just go and hit open, and it's going to pop open in my web browser, which happened in the other window. I can then go to Content Setup, excuse me. Playlist is the first one you want to do. And so what you would do in here is, actually for this, we don't even need a playlist for what we're doing because it's just one sequence that we play on a given time. So instead I'm going to go to Scheduler. I'm going to set my FPP mode to player in this case. This was a remote in my Christmas show. And then I'm going to add a new sequence, a new schedule rather. Schedule type's just going to be sequence. And then I've got all this stuff from Christmas here. That's not going to work because we've set up the controller. We've put new models on it, so they're not going to look right. And I'm going to go Easter. And I'm just going to set it by default. It basically sets it as today's the start date and the end date is somewhere very far in the future. But I could go ahead then and set up, my Easter one. I'm going to set this up just so it starts when I start the controller. Hit save. But I can add more below it if I desire. And so then I could go and do my patriotic one. And I could set that up and say, hey, I want that to run on July 4th. Ooh, July 4th on Tuesday this year. So actually, we're just going to do it July 1st through back to 2023. And you see here, if you type in the date, you get yourself closer. And we're just going to run it through the 5th. All right, hit save. Going to go back to our status page so we can show you that in a second. And now we're going to go ahead to our stuff, our gear, right? So, like I mentioned, I've got the Kurt controller here with pigtails on it. I'm going to find my pigtail number 1 because that's the string that we plugged into. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab here my adapter from mini plug to X Connect for the RGB trim and connect that up to the RGB trim on the male plug because that's pretty much always inputs on this stuff, though it's not actually standardized. plug that in. Whoosh. Thread it up. I would spray a little dielectric grease in there. That's dielectric is how you spell it. I like the spray stuff, but the spark plug style stuff works too. And same with the X-Connect side to keep the water out. And then I'm going to find pigtail number 1. I'm going to move this against my wall instead of that blue light. And then we're going to go ahead and fire it up. Be right back. All right, so back at it. I don't know if I've discovered a bug that I hadn't found in FPP version 5.5 or what, but my schedule is just not happening for the life of me, which is curious because I've used this controller before with schedules. I've used lots of other FP controllers with schedules, but sometimes you're testing and things just don't work. Okay, so I see the problem with my schedule here, guys, after I finish the video. It's that my date and time on this controller was way off because I'd never set up the time because I'd been using it in my show as a remote instead of a player. It had no need for time, but now it does. So when I did set the time, which is in, at least in this version of FPP, status and control and FPP settings / time, I set the time correct, and then lo and behold, then I go back to the status page, and if you reboot, restart the FPPD, or just restart the whole controller, then it picks up on the schedule automatically. Then I can hit preview and see my future schedules. It should have shown me my future schedules anyways, but it clearly didn't, and that's okay. So regardless of whether we have a schedule or not, we can go here to the status page, and I can then select my sequence, or create a quick playlist that I misspelled Easter on really good. And I can go ahead and then click repeat and play my sequence. Ta-da! And then we get lights. I just plugged in one strip to test, but then I could stop it and I could go patriotic. Repeat is still checked. Awesome. And play it. And we have our nice patriotic sweep. So I'll shoot some quick video of the house and show you how this looks tonight. But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll put that here at the end screen. If you do like this, if you're like, hey, this is cool, then, here at Learn Christmas Lighting, we love to help people. We love to teach through our academy, which you can check out below and get a trial for just $1 if you sign up on our website. We would love to be able to help you. And if you need stuff, hey, you need pixels, you need controllers, what have you, we've got it at the Learn Christmas Lighting store. That's learnchristmaslightingstore.com. We have the finest stuff, but it's not outrageously priced. We just would love to become your dealer for this stuff if you learned and been encouraged and helped by us. So with that, guys, hasta la vista to you. We'll see you in our next video. Thanks.